This video will review the leading tone diminished seventh chord. Let's take a look at the two examples I have on the board behind me. Leading tone full diminished seventh chords and half diminished seventh chords appear in major and in minor keys. And the root factor is exactly that. It's the leading tone of the key. Now major keys have leading tones, minor keys do not until we raise the seventh scale degree one semitone with the appropriate accidental. Let's take a look at these examples in some detail. In C major, the leading tone, diminished seventh chord, is built on B natural. This is the leading tone. The intervals that make up the leading tone diminished seventh chord in a major key are as follows. A minor third, a diminished fifth, and a minor seventh. The triad component of this chord is diminished. Minor third plus diminished fifth. So we say that this chord structure is a diminished minor seven chord. Diminished minor seven. Now take a look at the Roman numeral. You can see that this is 7, and you can see the circle has a slash through it. That indicates that this chord is a diminished minor 7 chord. We say that this chord is half diminished. Major keys have half diminished 7th chords when building a chord on the leading tone. Okay, let's compare this with minor keys. You can see here that the key is A minor. The leading tone has been raised G sharp. The 7th scale degree has been raised to form the leading tone G sharp. Let's take a look at the intervals that result. Minor third. Diminished fifth. Diminished seventh. This chord not only has a diminished triad component, but it also has a diminished seventh. As with major keys, we use that to describe the quality of the chord. We say diminished diminished seventh, or double diminished seventh. You can see the Roman numeral reflects the root factor as being the 7th scale degree. The quality of the chord is diminished, and it has a 7th factor. Compare the circle with the circle that has the slash through it. That's how we make a distinction between diminished minor and diminished diminished. Spelling these chords is relatively easy if you know your key signatures. If you need to have a circle of fifths out to do this, it may be useful. Most of the spelling examples that you'll encounter will be actual leading tone diminished 7th chords in actual keys. The question is it a major key or a minor key, and then applying the appropriate accidentals according to what key the chord comes from. Let's take an example. Suppose we're to spell a 7 half diminished 7 chord above this root factor. Now we know that half diminished seventh chords belong to major keys. So the question becomes, if this is the leading tone of a major key, what key is it? If we look a semitone, a diatonic semitone above D, we find the pitch E flat. D is the leading tone in the key of E flat. So to spell this chord, to just simply construct this chord, we build the pitch structure and apply the key signature. The key of E flat major has B flat, E flat, and A flat. I apply those flats where appropriate. This is a half diminished seventh chord in the key of E flat major. Here's another example. Suppose we're given the challenge of constructing a full diminished seventh chord above the pitch E. And the question becomes, what minor key does this chord belong to? What minor key? Because full diminished seventh chords come from minor keys, and half diminished seventh chords come from major keys. Okay, so if we look at a diatonic semitone above the pitch E, we discover that E is the leading tone in F minor. F minor has 4 flats, B, E, A, D. However, the leading tone in the key of F minor is E natural, because we always raise the 7th scale degree, one semitone. Flats are raised by naturals. In my graph, I have an E natural as the root factor. I apply the appropriate flats to the appropriate notes. So spelling these chords is as simple as considering the root factor as the leading tone in a key and then applying the appropriate accidentals where they belong. Okay, so the next video will move on to look at the relation of the leading tone, diminished chord, and the dominant.